eyes. Her breath even smelled like sugar from the snack she had just eaten. He forced a smile, taking a deep breath to calm himself while clenching his fist so hard with excitement that it almost hurt. This girl had a sweetness about her, unlike any little girl he had met or observed. He leaned forward, then whispered in her ear, "It's a secret." Her eyes grew even wider, and her mouth gaped. Then she placed her hands on her hips. "Hey, mister, are you a spy?" That made him laugh. "You might say that." "Whoa," the girl said, mouth still gaping. Her parents had, by now, realized she was gone and spotted her talking to him. This was his cue to leave. They called her name, and the girl was about to leave when she stopped herself and turned to face him again. "I'm Maggie, by the way, and your secret is safe with me." He smiled and felt his heart melt as Maggie ran to her parents and brother. Her mom lifted her hand and waved at him, and he waved back, smiling. He stared after them and couldn't stop thinking about the girl and her small, soft neck as she disappeared with her parents holding her mother's hand. His heart pounded in his throat as he mumbled to himself, "You are my secret, Maggie. You are my sweet and delightful secret." Prologue. She hadn't recognized herself in a while, but now, for the first time in months, she felt like herself again. Mary Marshall stared at her children in the bathroom, where they were brushing their teeth for bed. Maggie and Blake were both in their PJs. His were blue and had airplanes on them, while hers were pink and had Rapunzel from her favorite movie, Tangled, on them. Maggie and Blake, the twins, had been inseparable since birth, yet they could drive their mother nuts with all their fighting and screaming. They had just turned 5 years old, and, finally, things were getting a little easier, their mother had to admit. There was more now that they could do on their own, and her workload had eased up slightly. It was Peter's idea to come to Key West for the summer. "A couple of weeks at a resort will do you good," he said. "You won't have to cook or clean. Just hang out in a lounge chair by the pool or on the beach. Get some sun on that pale nose of yours." He had said the last thing with a smile and a kiss on the tip of her nose. Peter was a good husband. He was a dentist and had his own clinic, and provided well for them without ever complaining, even if it meant he had to work long hours and go away for dental conferences regularly. It was never Mary's plan to be a stay-at-home mom. She had liked working at the local newspaper. She had loved her colleagues and, once she got pregnant, she hadn't assumed she would stay at home as long as she did. But having twins turned out to be quite the challenge. And if she was perfectly honest, they had become her entire life. And as they grew, she found that she quite enjoyed being at home with them. She hadn't wanted to go back to work, not even when the twins had started voluntary pre-kindergarten when they were 4. After the summer, they would start kindergarten, and Peter was talking about getting her a half-time position at the clinic. But for some reason, it didn't interest Mary. She found that she hated the thought of having to be apart from her children. She enjoyed being with them all day, even on the long days when Peter came home late. They filled her with so much joy, and she didn't think any job would ever be able to live up to that. She had never expected to feel this way, and it took her quite a surprise. Growing up, Mary hadn't even been sure she wanted children one day. When her friends talked about it, she'd been the one to say she'd rather travel and see the world, or live alone in an apartment in New York, working for a big publishing house, attending cocktail parties and book launch parties on the weekends. And she had done those things. Well, almost. She had traveled for 3 months through Central America after college, and she had lived in New York for a year, alone, while applying for jobs at publishing houses, but never getting one. When the money ran out, she had ended up going back to Lexington, Kentucky.